Welcome to Keep the Game Beautiful podcast. Each week, I highlight incredible people who are doing amazing things in soccer, the beautiful game. I'm Anna Turi, your host. Thank you for listening. Today, I talk to Jameson Kronser. Jameson has a great love for the game. I have seen Jamo coach many times, and he is the real deal. I'm very lucky and thankful that Jamo made the time to talk to me. You may hear cars and other noise from his car in the background, but he's a very busy person, so I'm very fortunate he was able to find time in his very busy schedule to talk to me. You also may hear my voice is a little bit stuffed. When this was recorded, I had a little bit of a cold, so thank you for bearing through my not so pretty voice. This week, I'm joined by Jameson Kronser of Ideal Performance. Jameson, better known as Jamo, is the founder of Ideal Performance in Madison, Wisconsin. The first time I met Jamo was at the Camp Shutout Roadshow in Madison, Wisconsin. The roadshow was a late one, starting at maybe 9 in a blizzard. All I know is I got home at 2 in the morning and I went into school late that morning. Jamo played at the University of Wisconsin-Madison as a walk-on goalkeeper for 3 years. Jameson started a goalkeeper-specific training for local goalkeepers in Madison under the name Kronser Keeper Academy. Last year, Jamo expanded his business, Ideal Performance. Jamo regularly participates in the Camp Shutout Big Show and in several road shows. Coach Jamo, thank you for joining me today on Keep the Game Beautiful.
Thank you for having me. That was a great intro. Appreciate it.
I was wondering if you would start by taking the time for a few minutes to share your soccer story with us, or share anything I missed in my introduction.
Yeah, I would love to. Soccer is a beautiful game, and it's been a part of my life for a really long time. I played goalkeeper for almost my entire career. I started, of course, as many youths do in grassroots, playing all sorts of positions. But one day, I think I was about, 10 or 11, and we were at a tournament, and I found some goalie gloves in my bag. I have no idea why they were there. My mother probably put them there just in case I had to play, and we were between games in the tournament. Had one of my buddies just kicking soccer balls at me. We were just killing time, and the coach walked up and said, "Oh, perfect, you can play goalie today." So I played goalie in that game. I really didn't see much action. At least I don't think I saw much action, but everyone thought I played just absolutely amazing. And so it was stuck. I was going to be the goalkeeper on the team. I loved it, loved every minute of it, grew up playing it, played for just my local hometown, Oregon, Wisconsin, played for Oregon Soccer Club. We just played locally. We didn't really do much travel or anything. And when I graduated, I went to UW-Madison, the Badgers, and started playing in a men's league in and around the city area for my first year and a half there. I was playing with a lot of guys that had graduated from UW and were playing at other local colleges kind of in their off season, and so I told myself I had to just go for it. I would never forgive myself, and I always wonder if I never tried out. So I contacted the coaches at Wisconsin and organized a tryout with them. Blessed to make it through that tryout. I think day one we had 15 goalkeepers and about 40 other players. Day two we had 9 goalkeepers and 20 other players. And day three there's 5 goalkeepers and 5 other players. And they asked me to stay on to just fill in for some injuries for the spring, and then I wouldn't come back in the fall. And then so that's what I did. I played there for the spring, and they called me in August, about a week before preseason, offered me a spot on the roster. I gladly accepted, jumped on the roster, and played the rest of my career there at Wisconsin. Great experience. Coach Trask, Keith Tiemeyer, and at the time I had Phil Presser and Ian Sarakin. We're all great. Goalkeeper coaches, I had a different one every year. Brad Swenby started me out. He's a big part of Camp Shutout as well. I know he's down in Chicago now with the Sockers. And then Ryan Hopkins came in after him. He's down in Virginia, I believe, still. And then he's also part of Camp Shutout back in the day. And then Stan the man, Stan Anderson, owner. He came in my senior season and was my goalkeeper coach at Wisconsin that last year for me. And so that's how I got involved with Camp Shutout, and that was also when I was starting Kronser Keeper Academy. That's the long story for that part. Since then, it's been pretty quick. I graduated from Wisconsin and took a job as an engineer. Professional soccer wasn't in my cards. I had a couple of trials, but nothing really panned out there. And so I was working as an engineer and volunteering my time at Beloit College with the men's and women's teams. They're a small little Division III school, southern Wisconsin. 3 seasons into that, I had an opportunity to do a graduate assistant coaching job at Valparaiso University with their women's program and Coach John Maravich there. I did that for 2 years while I got my MBA. Just finished that contract up this past May, so a few months ago, and came back to Madison, got married, and now I'm coaching at Edgewick College with the men's team and helping out with the women's team goalkeepers when they need it. That's a Camp Shutout graduate as well there at Grace Wildebohr. So that's kind of the coaching side of things. Ideal Performance, just like you said, we changed that name at the beginning of 2019. That was part of my MBA. I kind of rebranded Kronser Keeper Academy. I just wanted to do more than just goalkeepers. And so that's what I've been trying to do in 2019. And that's the coaching story, and that brings me to where I'm at today.
This podcast is Keep the Game Beautiful. Each week I start with the same few questions. So first, what does the beautiful game mean to you?
Beautiful game. That's just the passion and love for the sport. This sport is so much more than kicking a ball around the field or being athletic or anything like that. It's people's release. It's people's balance in their lives. I know for me, I work full time as an engineer, and if I didn't have a beautiful game in my life, I would go insane. I have to have the coaching. It's not a livelihood for me. Soccer's not a way of life per se, but it's my balance. If I worked 9-10 hours a day and then didn't get to go do 2 or 3 hours of soccer, I would be very unhappy. And I try to instill that in all the people I work with. You know, it's a beautiful game. You're stressed because you're a college student, you have to go to class, or you're stressed because you're in high school and you're dealing with all sorts of stresses at that time of your life. Reground yourself. All of the troubles, all the adversities you're dealing with, that's what the beautiful game means.
What are some actions or things you do to keep the game beautiful?
Keep things positive. I'm extremely competitive, and on the field I'll start barking at people, both as the goalkeeper giving orders, but also, a little friendly banter with the opponents. That's always part of it, but that can make the game ugly. And so I really try to always have great relationships with those I'm playing with, and then those I'm playing against. After that game's over, I'm right there giving all of them a handshake or a hug, telling them they did great, trying to personally connect with them. If there's an outstanding player that I played against, I make sure they heard it. I'd give them a little bit of love after the game, and especially the other goalkeeper, GK Union. If we crushed them, I was over there picking that guy back up saying, hey, I've been there, it happened, got to get back on your horse. And if they crushed us, same thing, hey, great, clean sheet, you did your job well, that sort of stuff. You got to be able to leave it on the field, and that's what I try to do, keep the game beautiful.
How do you encourage others to keep the game beautiful?
Well, now that I'm into this coaching role, it's my 6th season as college coach. I don't do too much in the club, but work with a lot of youth goalkeepers and youth players around the state, around the Midwest, really, and yourself included. And what I do to help encourage others is is I notice a lot of times at the colleges I've been at, players eventually get to a point where they're kind of burned out. They're a little bit fed up with the game. It's taking a lot of their time. Maybe they're losing. Maybe they're just not playing. And they start to lose that love of the game, and they start to lose that beauty. And something we try to work on is, all right, how do we love the game again? How do we love our brothers and sisters on the field again? And you have to find a way for the game to be enough. So if you're not playing the minutes you want to be playing, you're still out training every single day. You're still getting to be on that field. You're still getting to compete. Maybe you are playing, but you're losing. At the end of the day, you're still competing at a high level. If we're talking college, which is where I do the majority of my coaching, 8% of high school students go on to play collegiately. That's not very high. So if you're in that 8%, you're very lucky. There are literally thousands of other people that would love to be where you're at. And sometimes you just need to remember that when things seem difficult. And so that's what I always try to focus on with them. With that said, it's easy to say those things, but it's not always easy to live them. And for some people, they're going through the hardest time. They're going through surgery. You know, I've got a guy on my team right now who went through surgery this morning, and I'm off to hopefully get to see him tonight. And I've had a lot of players go through a lot of season-ending injuries, and that's where you have to rely on your teammates, your brothers, and your sisters on the field to keep the game beautiful for you in your absence. And that's where you really get to grow as a player is deal with that adversity that you're facing due to your injury or not winning games or not playing a lot of games and still finding that love in the game. And that's a huge part of the personal development aspect of ideal performance that we work on is overcoming those adversities and finding a way to let the love of the game, let the beautiful game get you through those hard times.
How did you find yourself deciding to try for a walk-on spot at University of Wisconsin?
So that was one of those things where, you know, you never know if you don't try. And what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to tell me no thanks, and I'll be right back where I was before the tryout. So it was a really fun experience. I knew I wanted to try out right away, so I reached out to them fall of my freshman year. That would be 2009. And they're like, yeah, come on in the spring, and we do open tryouts in the spring. So, you know, we'll reach out to you. We'll let you know when they are. And so I pestered Coach T-Meyer over and over and over every month, basically asking him, hey, winter tryouts. And then the team I was playing on moved me out into the field. There was two goalkeepers, and they wanted me in the goal, but they didn't want him on the field. So they could live with him in the goal, and they preferred me on the field then. And so I was doing that. So then after pestering T-Meyer so much, he finally gives me the date, and I say, well, I've been playing in the field, and I know I won't make your team playing in the field. So I'll come back next year and try out for goalkeeper. So that's why it was my sophomore year. So I came back my sophomore year and tried out. You know, and Swenby put me through some paces, and like I said, they were battling some injuries, and they needed a guy to stand in the net. That's literally what they told me. Hey, we just need a body to stand in the net for the spring. Are you up for doing it? You know, you're not coming back in the fall. I just said, hey, that's an extended tryout. Yep, no problem. I'll do it. And those guys were really, really great to me. They taught me a ton that spring. The cards fell in the right way that August that next year, August 2011, they asked me to come back and take a full roster spot. So that's how I came about that walk-on opportunity.
What made you want to stay with the team?
That's a brotherhood. You know, those guys were great. We've been talking over the last couple of weeks. We're trying to get together for some sort of a reunion because it's been about 6 years since we've been together, and it's at least been almost 6 years since I graduated. And I was getting high-quality goalkeeper training. I was playing soccer every single day. It's exactly like your previous question. It's a beautiful game. I would not have been able to do engineering school if I didn't have soccer balancing my life. And a lot of people ask, how did you do it? You were an engineering student and you were a walk-on soccer player. Well, the funny thing is as a walk-on soccer player, I was paying my way through school, so I also had 2 or 3 other jobs at the same time, and it just made me really efficient with time management. Student athletes are phenomenal at managing their time, and when you've got training and film and weights, and then on top of it, you've got all your classes, your homework, you got to eat in there, and you got to balance, you got to turn it all off and let your brain decompress. So whether that's watching TV or reading a book or whatever it might be, that's where that all comes from. And it was a blast, and I wasn't going to give that up. I wasn't going to step away even though I wasn't getting the minutes or I wasn't on scholarship. I was getting so much more out of it. And everything that has happened since I walked on has been a direct result of me being part of that program. All of the opportunities in my life have come through people I met because of Wisconsin soccer. Stan Anderson being a huge part of that, and I've told him that. Getting that phone call was kind of a very influential moment in my life that we look back on, and I would not be where I am today if I wasn't on that team and if I didn't stick it out on that team. Easy to go back.
I know your bio shared that University of Wisconsin was the right fit academically. When you're working with high schoolers, do you feel like they look for the right school fit all the time, or sometimes do they look for the team or a D1 opportunity?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a big piece of the recruiting advice I get. You're going to get the kids that are out there, they just want to find the right school, and if they can play, they can play. And you're going to have the other kids that are out there that just want to play. And then there's the ones that, want the opportunity at the highest possible level, even if they're maybe not getting the minutes. The advice I always give is you're going to have to live there for 4 years at least. So you're definitely going to want to be in that part of the country, that city, that town, wherever that college is. You're not going to be a professional soccer player your whole life. And depending on which school you're going to, you might not make the pros. So you're going to have to rely on that degree you get. So you need to take that into consideration in the recruiting process. What school do I want to be getting my degree from, and what degree do I want to get? Now, most students don't know what they want to do, and I'll be honest, I knew I wanted to be an engineer, but I had no idea what an engineer even did. And so school wasn't something I took nearly as seriously as I did when I went back to school the second time, because I could apply it, and I knew what I did and did not enjoy from the real working world. And so I was able to get so much more out of school after that experience. So asking a high school student to pick a degree is difficult enough, let alone throw in the soccer aspect to it. So I always try to tell them, keep as many doors open. Don't, pursue all options until one doesn't make sense, and then that one can be crossed off. So if you don't know what you want to do, don't go to a school that's going to limit you to only, don't go to a school of engineering if you don't know if you want to do engineering or not. Don't go to a liberal arts school if you don't know if you want to do liberal arts or maybe something else. So that was one thing about Wisconsin. Although I knew I wanted to do engineering, I could change my path at Wisconsin, and I could get many, many different degrees there and have a really high quality education. I knew I wanted to try living in a city after growing up in a small town. Be it only 20 minutes from my hometown, I only went home once a year. So the location compared to home wasn't as big of a deal, but that is definitely advice I give to players is, hey, you got to take in your education first. You're a student athlete. Then you got to think about your lifestyle there. You're going to be living there. Do you want to be there for 4 years, or are you going to be miserable? And once you've got a list of all the schools that have anything you could want to study and are located anywhere you'd want to live, then you go through those and you find, all right, which ones are soccer programs? Okay, of those soccer programs, which ones do I realistically think I could play for if that's important to me? You know, you might have to cross the Division Ones off the list if you're not at that level. And so you slowly are narrowing your list down more and more and more. And that doesn't mean don't apply to some of these other schools. Like I said, keep all options open. That's how I, recruiting-wise, offer kids advice on how to narrow it down is, what do you want to study? Where do you want to live? Who has soccer programs? And then you can get into the nitty-gritty details of, okay, here's 5 schools that have programs I could play for. They all are in places I want to live, and they all offer degrees that I would be interested in getting. Now, okay, well, this one has 4 freshman goalkeepers. Probably not going to find a lot of time there. This one has 4 seniors and nobody else. Okay, well, yeah, they're probably looking for goalkeepers. And so then you can narrow it down more and more and more, and pretty soon you'll have 1 or 2, maybe 3 schools that are really good fits for you, and you start the recruiting process with them.
Were there ever times that you doubted you'd play soccer after high school?
That's a good question. My high school really didn't send many people off to play in college, and with the exception of 1 or 2 really special players, I think there's 3 guys before me that I had played with that went off to play in school. And so I was looking at playing at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. I knew the goalkeeper coach, Jose Asturias, and he had worked with me a little bit at some summer camps, and he essentially, he urged me to come and play there. And it's a great engineering school. My dad and my brother both were alumni of the place, of UW-Platteville, so I was all set to go there and play soccer. And then I got into UW-Madison, and I decided I was going to forgo soccer to have the experience of a different lifestyle, meaning I grew up in a small town. Platteville would have been the same kind of small town vibe, and Madison was going to be a big city, and so I wanted to experience that big city experience, relatively speaking, to where I grew up. So I bit the bullet and said, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to play soccer in college. I'm going to go to Wisconsin. And I only had to live with that decision for a few short months. A local coach, Raj, called me up and said that he needed a goalkeeper on his city league team, and so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll meet with you and I'll start to play. And so I started playing with him, and like I said earlier in my intro, started to play with, there was recent Wisconsin alumni on the team. There was Edgewood College players that this was kind of their off-season team that they'd play with, and we were a really good team, and then I got asked to go up to the Majors division from there, and so I was playing with the Majors division, and that's when I realized, hey, I can still do this, and maybe I can play at this level. So I just got to try. Maybe I'm shooting too high. I had never had aspirations of playing Division I other than a dream, but that's when I started contacting the coaches about a tryout. It's actually kind of a poetic story. I did a camp at Wisconsin, a Wisconsin camp, my junior year, and at the camp they give you a team poster. So I had a poster of 5 seniors that were at Wisconsin back in 2007, and that's when the dream set into me. I'm going to go be a Badger. But my play and my recruiting and my success throughout high school really didn't say I was going to go Division I. And then, all the cards fell right for me, and I just didn't give up, and I was persistent and took every inch anyone gave me. And several years later, 2013 rolls around, and on the poster was all of my other seniors, and I have those 2 posters hanging side by side. This one started the dream, and this is me finishing the dream. Those are hanging in my office at home. So there was a brief stint in there where I figured I wasn't going to be playing college soccer, but that was quickly thwarted by Madison United City League team.
How did you handle those times where you didn't really know what you were going to do with soccer anymore?
They were so brief that I really can't dig into the emotion of that, but I'm a pretty rational person. I'm passionate, but at the end of the day, I try to think rationally and make rational decisions, and I put my school over my sport, and I decided I was going to go to Wisconsin because I wanted that social experience and I wanted that educational experience, and I made that choice, and I lived with it. And then there wasn't a lot of soccer going on at the university. I was living right downtown. There wasn't really any green space, so I wasn't around it and really missing it because I was distracted from being a freshman in college. But once I was asked to come play on the City League team and I was doing it again, then I couldn't let it go. And so that's when, I decided to contact them for the tryout. So really, it was pretty easy to handle it just because I was so distracted from those first few weeks of college. Just there's so much going on. You're meeting 50 new people every single day. You're completely on your own finally, so you're excited about that. You're making your own decisions. If I want to go get ice cream, I just have to go walk and go get ice cream, and so I was pretty distracted from soccer, and so that's how I survived that. I can understand how other people don't have that opportunity, though.
Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, you really expanded your business to other areas like leadership and nutrition. Can you talk a bit more about some of these improvements?
Yes, I'd love to. So, Ideal Performance, like I said, we rebranded at the beginning of 2019. The goal was to expand beyond what we were doing at Kronser Keeper Academy. At Valparaiso University, we were dealing with, as every college deals with, all sorts of adversity as a team. People don't know what the right nutrition is, and that's not, anything wrong with them. There's just not much education out there. Some people think that, eating a salad is a really good decision. Well, when you're burning 3,000 calories a day in soccer alone, plus your normal 1,500, 2,000 calories as just a body and rest, you need to eat 5,000 calories every day just to maintain. And, so if you're eating salads and something like that, you're not getting enough nutrients or enough energy to be a collegiate athlete. Without the education, how would you know? You think you're doing the right thing, but you're hurting yourself. And the right amounts of protein and that. And so that was where nutrition really came in. Leadership and personal development was stuff we did with the team at Valpo, again, to deal with that adversity. College is very difficult. You have tons of classes. You're in charge of your own schedule. Sleep is hard to come by. You're always being stimulated by everything going on around you. Plus, you've got soccer. And learning how to deal with all of these different challenges and adversities is really critical to your success as a student athlete, both as a student and as the athlete. And then we also add the performance training, which is the strength and conditioning, speed and agility. And again, to be an elite athlete, you have to hone all of those skills. And so the nutrition, the performance, and the leadership, I just wanted to start developing athletes, pre-collegiate athletes, opportunities to be exposed to this and get professional, expert advice and coaching in these areas before they even get to college. And my ultimate goal is for these athletes that get recruited to be just phenomenal people. They know how to live a healthy lifestyle. They know what their body needs. They know how to listen to their body from a nutrition standpoint, so that when they're playing, they're doing things right for their playing. When they're not playing and it's after school or after college and after soccer, they're still able to live a healthy lifestyle, but it's going to be totally different than when you're, a collegiate athlete. And the leadership, personal development, that comes into play in every single aspect of your life, not just dealing with school adversity and soccer adversity, but work adversity and family adversity and friends adversity. So that was really where that stuff came from. Is we're under preparing our youth for life. We're sheltering them too much, and so if we can provide the opportunity to have education and training and experience with these tools, I feel like we're going to set up people much better to be not only just successful as a collegiate athlete, but in life afterwards as well.
How did you make the decision to bring in more coaches?
Well, that one was forced in a good way. When I took the job in Valpo, I was moving away, and Kronser Keeper Academy was doing really well. You know, I had probably 40 or 50 goalkeepers that I was working with very regularly, and we all had a really good relationship with each other, but also me and each of these goalkeepers. You know, I wanted them to be successful in everything they did, and with me leaving, I felt like I was abandoning them, and that was one of the hardest parts about leaving and moving away to Valparaiso, was knowing that I was leaving these goalkeepers. So I made it my mission to bring in other coaches to continue while I was gone. And it started with Travis, and he did a really, really great job, and he still does a great job for us. And he did the majority of it while I was in Valpo. And then once I started planning for Ideal Performance, I knew I was going to be growing even more, and so that's where I reached out to Dan and Alex and some of these other guys, and I'm getting to the point now where, like Alex, for example, Hofstetter, he's a kid that I used to train back when I was in college, and now he's a college alumni. He played 4 years at Loras, he coached at Loras, and now he's back in the Madison area, and he's coaching for me. So it's come full circle. He's given back. He was a Kronser Keeper Academy kid, and now he works for Ideal Performance.
Do all of these coaches align with your same styles and techniques?
No, and that's a really good thing. Camp Shutout taught me that every coach has their own style, and that's okay, and that's good. There are a lot of ways to play the position of goalkeeper. There's a lot of ways to play soccer. There's a lot of ways to do a lot of things. And the biggest thing I learned at Valparaiso through the MBA program, so no sports involved, is the phrase, it's not wrong, it's just different. So when something's different than you're used to, or someone does something differently than the way you do it, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different. And they have a different perspective, and they have a reason for doing it that way. So if you try to have an open mind and see their reasoning and see their perspective, you can open up to the way they do something. Goalkeeper is no different. Every body style needs to play a different style of goalkeeping. Every person is going to have a different style of goalkeeping. And if they just worked with me consistently, they're going to probably end up playing just like I played. But unless they're literally a clone of me, that's not going to work for them. They need to learn what works for their body. And so that's why having numerous coaches, or having coaches that will teach different things, different styles, is so important, because one goalkeeper might learn something from a coach and it really works for them, and another coach tries to teach them something different and it doesn't work at all. That doesn't mean that one's right or wrong. It just means one is right for that particular goalkeeper. Same two coaches, new goalkeeper, could be completely reversed. So I always tell my goalkeepers when I start working with them, especially new ones that have never worked with me, you're going to deal with a lot of different coaches in your time. They're going to say things, they're going to want you to do things differently than I do. That doesn't mean they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that I'm wrong. All it means is that we have different styles. So for now, when you're working with me, give my style a try. It might work for you. It might not. It's not going to work right away. But then when you're training, you can determine what works best for you. The way Coach A wants you to do something, or the way Coach B wants you to do something. And so I love having the diversity. I will talk soccer and goalkeeping all day long with my coaches, but I will not tell them they're wrong ever. And I've very rarely been told I'm wrong. And so I think we have a great working relationship in my coaches, but also in the soccer community as a whole.
Where does your passion and excitement for soccer come from?
That's a great question. I don't think I've really ever been asked or thought about that. I think it's just now is obviously different than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was just fun to compete, and I was decent at it, and so I had fun. My friends did it, and we enjoyed our times together, and so that's what it was as a kid. And now this game has given me so much. I have no choice but to give back. Everything I do is about giving back to the game, and like I mentioned before, getting that roster spot offered to me from Coach Tiemeyer and Coach Trask at Wisconsin was such a pivotal moment in my life, and I had no idea. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't have developed the skills to become the player and the coach that I am today. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't have met Stan Anderson. If I didn't meet Stan Anderson, I wouldn't have gotten involved with Camp Shutout. If I didn't get involved with Camp Shutout, I wouldn't have met Mr. Tom Serratori, currently at TCU, who played at Valparaiso University. And when he graduated, he told me, hey, there's a GA position on the women's side. Would you be interested? And then I reached out and I meet Coach Maravich down at Valparaiso University, where he taught me so much about the importance of leadership and nutrition and performance and all these things that went into ideal performance. He was teaching me about the total athlete. That helped develop ideal performance, but also studying at the MBA, and now getting my MBA at Valparaiso has opened up my eyes to different cultures. I traveled the world for 5 weeks after graduating because the MBA was a global MBA, and it was all about how do you do business with different cultures. And so I went and explored different cultures on my honeymoon with my wife, and it was a great time. And now I'm working a job that I absolutely love, and I'm running a business that is getting off the ground, and it's a grind and it's a struggle, but I love it because I know one day we're going to be helping hundreds of athletes, and we're poised to help people that aren't athletes as well. And I just can't wait to give back as much as possible.
When I was first thinking about chatting with you, I really wanted to take time to highlight your upcoming Project Winter Camp in Jamaica. Can you tell me a little bit about what you will be doing later this year?
Yes, I love that. And that's a great segue from wanting to help people. Camp Shutout, we give T-shirts to the kids and the staff every year. And everybody just has these stacks and stacks and stacks of Camp Shutout T-shirts. So I was like, all right, we got to just donate these things. We got to get these to kids that need clothing, that need T-shirts in America, so that, hey, you're getting the branding of Camp Shutout being worn all over the place, but you're also helping out. So it's a win-win for everyone. So I started researching on where we could donate T-shirts to, and I came across Chicago Scores, or America Scores, and their Chicago branch. And so I reached out to them and met a man named Dean Lothian, and he was like, hey, yeah, I'd love to take your donations. America Scores would really appreciate it, but could I also take some of it for Project Winter Camp Jamaica? It's a camp that I do on my own down in Jamaica, and I'd love to donate some stuff there. And I was like, sure, I'd love to. That would be awesome. And so he just taught me a little bit more about Project Winter Camp Jamaica. And he grew up in Jamaica, and he's just south of Kingston, and there's not great after school activities to do. I mean, football is everything for them, and it's not readily available. There's not a lot of soccer balls. There's not a lot of grass. There's not a lot of footwear. So he just tries to bring structured soccer to them, football, once a year in December, and that's Project Winter Camp. So he invited me down last year, and I went down, and I had a great week. I learned so much more than I had learned from him. He teaches teamwork, commitment, and respect. And he teaches that throughout the week in addition to teaching soccer skills. And this camp, on day 1, we had 40 kids. On day 2, we had 60 kids. On day 3, we had 80. And on day 4, we had over 100, because the word just spreads like wildfire. It's completely free to the kids. All they have to do is bring non-school uniform clothes and some sort of footwear, and we let them train. And they have to have a form signed by their parents saying that it's okay that they're there. So day 1, you have the kids that knew about it in advance. Day 2, you have all the kids that poked around and asked questions and wanted to know what it was, and so on and so forth. And it just grows and grows and grows. And these kids are phenomenal. So I'm going back, and we're doing it as it's a camp shutout event, in the sense that it's a camp shutout staff. Me and Caitlin Kelly are going down. Stan is trying to determine if he can get down there, and we're doing goalkeeper coaching with Project Winter Camp. So the kids that are attending that camp that want to play goalkeeper, they get official formal goalkeeper training from us while we're down there, and we've got all sorts of prizes and giveaways for the kids. And KK did an amazing job with the Sports Bra Project, and she's got, I don't know where we're at now, well over 50 sports bras that we're going to take down and donate to young women there that come to the camp. And that's really crucial. And that's the last piece that's really big about it, is we'll see a group of young girls watching the camp, and we'll ask them, hey, do you guys want to play? Do you want to train? And they'll say, well, no, I can't play football. I'm just a girl. And that just breaks our heart. And so every year we're pushing for more and more and more. Get more girls there, empower them, show them that they can play any sport they want to play. And so having KK there will be really, really great. Dean brings in a lot of great, phenomenal female coaches every year, and it helps that population of female footballers down there realize that it's okay, and they are welcome on the field, and we want them on the field with us, and it's just all part of that training and that experience that we're trying to deliver down there.
What are some of the things you hope to accomplish with the athletes you work with?
The athletes I work with, doesn't matter whether it's Jamaica or Madison, Wisconsin, or Chicago, or where at. I always want my athletes to be leaving better than they came. And that's both on the field and off the field. Hey, it's great if I can work with a goalkeeper and all of a sudden they're posting shutouts, and now they're getting recruited at top schools, and now they're finding success at their top school, and they're thinking about that's great. I love it to death. It's amazing. And it happens. But just as much, I enjoy that kid that goes and just plays at the school that they can play at, and builds the relationship with those players on that team, and just really gets a lot out of it, and is able to do well in school, and all of these things that are so important and so much bigger than the game, but that the game teaches you and the game prepares you for. And what I really, really love to see is when people I coached are now coaching, and they have a love for the game and they want to give back too. That's the ultimate reward. And so every athlete I work with, my dream for every athlete I work with, go be successful as a player, go be successful as a coach, and give back to your community and your society, whether that's through your career that you choose, or through soccer, or through some other means. But you need to take everything that's being given to you and all the advantages you have now, and you need to then pay that forward once you have those means to do so. And that means is just simply time. It doesn't have to be major financial gain. So that's what I look for out of my athletes. I have high hopes and high expectations for all of them.
Now, going back to the trip for a second, what do you still need for the trip, and how can people help you?
Working with Dean on these donations, he very quickly showed me we get plenty of donations. They get tons of clothes, tons of gear. They get all sorts of stuff. A lot of it's brand new. It's stuff that Adidas couldn't sell, so they donate. It's stuff that a store couldn't sell, so they donate. But getting all of that stuff from the United States to Jamaica is very expensive, and customs is very expensive. So when we get that down there, there's all sorts of taxes he has to pay. He has to pay to ship it. And Dean just does all of this out of his own pocket. He's got a GoFundMe for Project Winter Camp Jamaica that he raises money on, that he tries to use to help pay for that stuff. He also pays for his coaches while they're down there. He pays for their housing. He pays for their food. They just have to get their plane tickets down. When I brought Camp Shutout in, I told him, Dean, I'm not going to use any of your money. We're going to raise our own money. We're going to pay our own way. And anything additional, we're donating straight to you and what you need. So we're trying to be of zero financial burden to him, and on top of it, bring in donations for him. So I've also set up a GoFundMe, Camp Shutout Jamaica. There's a link in my Instagram bio. And the money raised there, that goes towards helping KK and I get down there first. Second, it goes for paying for our food while we're down there. And then the rest goes towards however Dean needs to use it. We'll be buying the kids snacks. We buy them apples and granola bars, and we give them those every day. That costs thousands of dollars when you're dealing with 100 kids 4 days a week, twice a day. So it goes towards food. It goes towards paying to help all of the donations get shipped down there. And then, if you don't want to give financially, that's okay. We're taking sports bra donations still. Those go through Caitlin Kelly. And then this year we're pushing a lot for footwear. We want any footwear is great. Cleats, runners, they play on dirt. So actually the indoor shoes are really, really good for them. But cleats, they love cleats, all sizes, any colors. As long as they're not ripped and falling apart, great. If they lace up and they don't have holes in them, we'll take them. And brand new cleats, obviously, they love as well. And then lastly, goalkeeper gloves. Last year I could only give a couple guys goalkeeper gloves, and hopefully we're going to have some females in the goalkeeping game this year. But I want every goalkeeper I work with down there to leave with at least a good pair of gloves shape-wise, meaning they might not be brand new, but I don't want them to have holes or be torn up or anything like that. So, financial donations are a huge help. Sports bras, cleats, and goalkeeper gloves, that goes a long way.
I hope that once you're back, we can chat again, just so I can learn about how it went. I want to thank Jamo for being with me on Keep the Game Beautiful. I am really excited about his upcoming service trip to Jamaica and can't wait to hear more about it. Who knows, I might even join you on it in a few years. I also want to thank you for what you do to teach the game and encourage young athletes. Now, for the last question, the one I always try to end with. How do you hope people remember you and your impact to soccer and the world?
That's a great question. Well, first let me say thank you so much for having me. We definitely want this Jamaica trip to eventually grow to the point where we are bringing young goalkeepers that want to learn to coach with us, like yourself. So yes, in a few years, we will be looking to take people just like yourself. So to answer your question, I just want me to be remembered in a positive light. I want every athlete I work with to be able to look back on their time in soccer, whether it was a long time in soccer or a short time in soccer, whether I worked with them one time or every single day. And I don't want their thought to be, that coach really ruined it for me, or, that's why I just stopped. He kind of broke me. And what I really want is, them to look at me as an inspiration and a motivation, because I want to give back to the game. And the best way to do that is to develop others that are going to give back to the game. And so I wasn't the best goalkeeper in the world. I'm certainly not the best coach in the world, and I'm definitely not a saint, and I don't do amazing work and great work. I'm just trying to do what I can. And if I do what I can, and that inspires 5 people to do what they can, and they each inspire 5 people to do what they can, then one guy, myself, just helped that many more people. and same with each one of them. They're helping that many more people. And that's really what it's about. That's what I hope people remember out of me, is that I made a positive impact on their life. I was a positive influence for them.
Thank you so much for your time, Jamel. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate it. These were great questions. This was very well put together. I appreciate being able to be on your podcast. I can't wait to listen to all your next episodes, and I'm excited to get to Jamaica. We'll definitely touch base again, and I can share all our experiences.
I had a great chat with Jamel. I loved learning more about his past, his plans for ideal performance, and more about Winter Camp Jamaica. I encourage you to check out Winter Camp Jamaica and support it in any way possible. I'm looking forward to chatting with Jamel and Caitlin once they get back from Jamaica. I hope you learned a lot and enjoyed listening. Thank you for listening, and until I see you next week, remember to keep the game beautiful.